Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the class. Now we are going to deal with column to column connection. Column to column connection. That is also called as column splicing. So can you all see this? Can you all see the board? Please confirm it.
Yes, sir.
Someone has to confirm it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Even the letters are clear. See, the letters I am writing on the board are clear. Can you make out? Hello, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So when we go for column to column splicing, see, in case of steel structures, what happens is, especially in multi-story structures, if you need a column of particular size, okay, so you may not get in the factory because they are not going to build that or manufacture that length of I section, okay, because of practical reasons. And also while transporting, there is a limit about the length up to which you can carry on loads. So as a result, the length of any standardized section is limited. So whenever you are constructing, the column size may, same column size, and you may need longer column, which is not available in the market. In such cases, what we do is we are going to connect one I section over the other. Okay. So then we are going to join them with plates. That is called splice plates, and the process is called splicing. So let me take, for example, so let us take this I section. So I'm going to rub this off. I need some space. Okay, when I am looking from the plan, this is what I am going to see at. So that is, this is the way I am going to see in the plan. 1 second, please. Okay, so elevation, I'm going to see like this. So this is the elevation I'm going to see. Okay, and further down the column continues. And this is where the column ends, because that is the length we have at the site. Okay. So we need to extend this column. So what we need to do? So because it is of the same section, so we are going to bring one more piece of the same I section, and we are going to place that column, that is continuation of the column, over the other. So and it continues further. See, this is fine as long as the load is axial, pure axial. But in reality, the load is not pure axial. It is always eccentric. 1 second for a minute. Okay. It is always eccentric. As a result, this is going to separate from the bottom portion of the column. So for that, what we do is we are going to put splices. I'm going to use a different color chalk piece. and we are going to use splices. Splices are nothing but the plates of certain thickness, and these splices are designed as compression members. This is the way we are going to put. Okay, so when you look from this side, that is the side elevation. So what you are going to see is this, only two lines. That is equal to the flank width of the section. Okay, when you look from this side. But here, there is a line. Because I am writing dotted line because it is hidden behind the splicing plate. Okay, this is one piece. This is the lower piece. Then, if you look here, you are going to see the splicing this way. Okay? And again, this line, that is the line where the upper and lower columns meet, is invisible now because this is covered by the splice or splicing plate. Okay, that is the reason why I have written this in dotted lines. Then we need to connect them. We are going to make use of the boards or welds. Again, those things are designed, and we are going to connect the upper part of the splicing with the upper portion of the column. Similarly, at the bottom, we are going to connect using boards. Okay. Similarly, on this side, okay. So when you look from this side, so that is from side view, you see one line of boards here, and there is another line behind on the other side of the web of this I section. So this you will see here. Okay. So this one is like this. Is it clear to you? So this is the way we are going to connect. And even these boards are designed for certain load. So because it is not in your syllabus, you don't have to worry about it. So this is the way splicing, column splicing is done. Okay. So this is called splice plate or splices. Okay. These are boards of certain diameter. We don't know unless we design it. Okay, this is the column. This is the plan. This is the elevation. This is the elevation, and this is the side elevation. This is side elevation. So this can be called as front elevation. This is side elevation. Sometimes what they do is, if you orient the direction of this I section this way, then this is going to become front, this is going to become side elevation. So it doesn't matter. So when you are looking in the plan, so what you see is this. These are splice plates of certain thickness. Again, thickness is is decided based on the design. Okay, then these are the bolts. Similarly, we can provide welds, if not bolts. Okay, this is the way splicing is done. Sometimes what we do is, we are going to provide, again, depending on the requirement, we are going to provide splices to the webs of the column. Okay, this is the way it looks. Then we are going to provide bolts. Again, how many bolts, how many lines of bolts, that depends. Here I am going to show only one line of bolts with 3 bolts on each line, on each side of the column. Okay, this is called web plate or web splice. This is web splice. Is it clear to you? So this is the way it is done. So in this case, so the bottom surface will have complete bearing on the top surface of this eye section. Okay, they are coming in contact with each other completely. Okay, so that is possible only when the surfaces are machined or milled. What it means, say for example, if I take a piece of eye section, this is an eye section. So if I draw a straight line here, the edge is sharp. Okay, this is called mill, or another name is machine. Sometimes the surface will be like this. Look here, it is not even. This is not machine or milled. Not machine or milled. So if you keep this kind of surface or this kind of end of the eye section over this will not be having full contact with the bottom one, and vice versa. Even if this does not have the smooth surface or level surface, or the top surface of the bottom column is not milled, then this will not be having the full contact with the top one. Okay, usually it is better to mill it so that they can have good contact. Is it clear to you? So this is the way beam to beam, column to column connection is done. Okay, we are not going to discuss anything about the design. Is that all? Is this the only way we can do? No. So there are different things. I'm going to show another one. In case of multi-storied steel structure, say for example 10 stories, 20 stories, 50, 60, 100 stories. If it is a steel structure, the bottommost column is the one which is carrying the maximum load. Is it not? If you go to the topmost column, that is carrying the least load. So, When you come to the bottom, we need the highest section or the largest section. So when you go to the top, you need the least section. Least section in the sense, the section you need to provide to take care of the load. Of course, even at the bottom, the same way. Because all the load coming from the top is taken by this one, by the bottom column most. Okay, that is going to be designed as such. So as we go up, each column carries less and less load. So when each column carries less and less load, as we go up, it is economical to reduce the sizes of the columns as we go up. Normally, what we do in case of multi-storied buildings, for every 2 stories, we are going to change the column section to achieve economy. Not every story, but every 2 story. That is the average. So every 3 stories you can change it, but it is going to be a little bit uneconomical. So when you take the bottom column, it is carrying highest load. So go to another story up. So provide the same thing, it's okay. So if you go further up, instead of providing the same section, which is also okay, to achieve economy, you can reduce the column section. So when you do that, when you keep one column over the other column, when they are not of the same cross section, then the problem arises. We cannot have 100% bearing. So one column sitting over the other one is possible only if these 2 sections are the same. If they differ, again, we have to provide a base plate, okay, underneath. Then we have to splice it. Okay, so let us take one such joint. Again, this is the bottom column. Okay. So this is the surface. Let me assume that that is milled. Then I need to keep one more column of lesser dimension. Again, for this column, if you look from the top, this is what you are going to see. Okay. So when you look sideways, you are going to see the flange portion, that is the width of the flange. So because I am using a different size of this section, there will not be complete bearing. So for that, what I do is, I am going to put a plate here. I am using a different color charpies. Hopefully that is going to be visible for you. If not, please let me know. So this is a base plate of certain thickness. Again, that depends on the design. Okay, when you look from the side, this is the way you are going to look the base plate. Then over this base plate, I am going to put an I section of lesser size like this. Then when you look from this side, you are going to see the I section with lesser flying width. But there are certain sections, if you look at the steel table, especially ISWB and other sections, if you are providing like this, if you reduce the depth, as far as the width of the flange is concerned, it will have the same width of the flange. That means, say for example, if I take, okay, 1 second, I'm going to look at this steel table. I'm going to tell you to take an example. See, if you take, for example, ISWB 600, ISWB 500, 550, 600. Say when I say ISWB 500, ISWB 550, ISWB 600. So they will have different heights. ISWB 600 will have 600 millimeter depth of the I section, that is this one. 550 is the depth of the I section. 500 is again the depth of the section. So normally what do you expect? So this will have certain width of the flange, it will have some size. For some sections, as depth varies, even the flange width varies. If I take these 3 sections, for example, here flange width remains the same, 250 millimeter, 250 millimeter, 250 millimeter. Okay. See here, 600, 550, 500. As far as the flange width is concerned, it remains the same even for some other sections. For example, like ISHB 350. ISHB 400, ISHB 450, for all those, width of the flange remain the same. Okay. For example, if I am using ISWB 600 here, ISWB 500 here, depth reduces here. When you look from this side, it will have the same flange width. You will see like this. Okay. Width-wise, they are, at the exact size. But if you are using some other section, for example, this is ISWB 600, and if you are using, say, ISWB 250 for this, just hypothetically speaking, automatically the width reduces. Okay, so I'm taking that reduced width of the flange of the I section. Then, how do you splice it? That is the question. So over this, I'm putting a base plate. Okay. Over this base plate, I'm putting this I section. That I section will look like this. From the top, of course, here I am not writing anything with dotted lines which are invisible. Okay, between this column and the lower column, so there is a plate of this thickness. This is the plate we are having. Then I need to connect this and this using splice plates. For that, what I do is I am going to put a splice plate like this. Okay, so I'm going to put a splice plate or splice like this. Okay, but there is some gap here. Look here, there is a gap between this splice and one of the flanges of the eye section. Here also the same thing. For that, what we do is we are going to fill up this gap with a steel plate of the required thickness. Okay, so this is called the packing plate. Packing plate. Then we are going to provide bolts. Okay. So again, this is the splice plate or splice. This is called packing plate, or another name is filler plate. Okay. And when you look from this side, so this is what you are going to see. Okay. Because the flange of this eye section is wider than the flange of this. So this is the way you see. So we are going to provide a plate, that is splice plate, which is cut like this. It is going to be of trapezoidal shape. Then this hides behind the flange plate. Okay, this is the way it looks. Then what do we do? When you look from this side, you see the bolts. Again, the bolts here. Okay, and of course, you are going to provide the edge distance, end distance, in all places as per the codal recommendation. So what is this? This is the plan. This is the elevation or front elevation. This is the side elevation. Okay. So this is basically the column splicing. This is the base plate. So after drawing this, you need to give the detail. That is, the detailing you have written here. Okay. So this is splice. Or splice plate. This is packing plate or filler plate. Okay. So this is the plan. And you can just write this as dotted because this is hidden below the cover, below the base plate. Okay, so this is the way you are going to see. So any doubt regarding this, guys? So this is the way splicing is done. Of course, these are boards, right? The details as much as you can. This is upper column or upper portion of the column. This is the lower column. Is this clear to you guys? Any doubt? So let me go to the notes. Okay, let me read out the theory and also let me explain what is given in the notes and also the figure in the notes. So some little bit extra is there. So I'm going to go over there. Okay. I'm going to explain what it is. Okay. So can you all see this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Guys, can you see the notes? Someone has to speak up.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, thank you, Sinchana. Okay, I told you about the splicing. See, this is the front view, okay, our front elevation. So there is another column coming up and these two columns are connected by a splice plate. So, and they are connected through boards. Similarly, sometimes what you do, we are going to provide some web splicing. Okay, so we are going to provide at the webs of the eye sections. Okay, this is not machined or not milled. It's a rough surface of the column. This is machined. This is the smooth surface of the column. And when we have two continuity of columns with different sizes, as I said, what we do, we are going to put one column over the other. This will not be having complete bearing. Sometimes, okay, what happens is, here in this case, even though it will not be having complete bearing, because of the thickness of the flange, if I take the lower column, it will have certain thickness. Okay, if you take the upper column, it will have certain thickness, the flange will have certain thickness which is lesser than the thickness of the lower column. Similarly, web-wise, web thickness will be less. Okay, and as far as depth is concerned, there will be little bit difference. That is, the upper column will be little bit less than the lower column. So in that case, what we do, we may not need the bearing plate or the base plate, because even the height wise they are so close, the flange of the upper column sits on a part of the lower column flange and the web will have complete bearing. So the only thing we do is we are going to provide the flange, that is the splice plates, and we are going to fill up that gap using packing plates. Okay, so this part is the other one I explained you just now on the board. Okay, so this is the way the column splicing is done, or column to column connection is done. Okay, so let me read out what is given. A joint, when provided in the length of a member, is called a splice. Okay, so if a member is loaded concentrically, theoretically no splice is required, but compression will be transmitted by direct bearing, and column sections could be rested one on top of each other, and or one on top of the other and function satisfactorily. However, the load is never truly axial. Remember, so whenever we say axial load, so it is very rare that the load will be axial. It is always associated with certain moment. So the effect of moment you are going to consider or not depends on what kind of the magnitude of the moment. By converting that value into corresponding eccentricity, we can decide whether we can ignore the moment or not. Okay, moment is going to be there. Just like in RCC. If you remember the formula L by 500 plus D by 50, which is less than some value you will have, and also it should be less than 20 millimeter. If any actual eccentricity exceeds those values, then eccentricity should be considered, or else eccentricity can be ignored even if there is some eccentricity. Is it not? And the column, RCC column, can be designed as an actually loaded column. So if you remember what we did in RCC, that's you will get some idea about it. Same thing is applicable here, but in your syllabus, we only deal with the design of compression members with actual loads. So in reality, all the columns will be subjected to axial load and some magnitude of moment. Okay, to take care of that moment, what we do, we are going to connect lower column with the upper portion of the column using splicing, and we are going to design those splice plates for compression load. Okay, design you don't have to worry about because it is not in your syllabus. However, the load is never truly axial and the real column has to resist bending due to eccentrically applied load. In addition to this, the columns may be subjected to bending moments. Also, the bearing surfaces of the adjacent sections can never be machined to perfection. The adjoining members must be perfectly connected. In case if it is not milled or machined to perfection, but it can be made, it takes some time and also some skill labor, but normally it is not milled. When it is not milled, you have to provide splicing. So column sections can be spliced in the following cases: when the length of the actual column is more than the length of the column section available in the market. Okay, a number of pieces are jointed to achieve the full length of the column. Okay, I explained this. So in case of multi-story buildings, the section of column required for the various stories may be different as the load goes on increasing for the column of lower stories. In other words, the load keeps on decreasing as you go from the bottom to the upper story. This also I have discussed. So the various types of splices used in compression members are shown in the figures. The splice system shown in figure 1 and figure 2 are used to connect two column sections having the same cross section. This also I have explained. And the flanges and webs of the upper story column have full bearing over those of the lower story column. Yeah, that's right. If the flanges of the upper story column have partial bearing over those of the lower story column, the splice shown in figure 3 is used. So additional packing plates will be required to ensure that the face of the upper column flanges is in the same plane as that of the lower story column once. Okay. If the flanges of the column of upper story do not have any bearing over the flanges of the lower story column, then a bearing plate is provided. Again, this also explained over lower story column as shown in figure 4. Suitable thick packing plates are provided on the two sides of the column of the upper story, and then splice plates are placed and connected. Okay, I hope this is clear to you. So this question appears in the examination as theory part. Okay. So as theory part, you don't have to worry about the design. So read this. This completes column splicing and also beams. So in this module, in case of beam module, again, design of, they may ask you questions about what is lateral torsional buckling. Okay, so basically what is lateral torsional buckling? So that is nothing but, if you take RCC column, we always think about the deflection in the vertical direction. When you do deflection check, you go for the vertical deflection check. So when you take an steel section, okay, if it is not laterally supported, that is the compression portion is not laterally supported, what happens is the beam, that is the steel beam, tends to move vertically downwards, that is a deflection, and also it will tend to move horizontally as well, because it is not restrained in the horizontal direction. Okay, so as a result of the vertical deflection, what happens is it is going to bend about the major axis, that is the ZZ axis. So that axis creates compression zone and tension zone. Okay, and because it is laterally unsupported, the beam will try to bend about its minor axis. The minor axis is IY axis and the major axis is Z axis. So why it bends about the minor axis, that is the Y axis, because that's where we get lesser moment of inertia. That is called the minor axis. Higher moment of inertia, that is the Z axis, that is the major axis. So it tends to move sideways. Okay, so about its minor axis, that is Y axis, that is called lateral buckling. Okay, in addition to that, because it moves downwards vertically, it creates compression and tension zone. And neutral axis is the line that divides the compression and tension zone. Is it not? So when you subject that columns, steel section to compression, then the compression zone will act as a column. Will act as a column, and it will tend to buckle sideways. Okay, it will tend to buckle sideways, and it will try to pull the tension zone towards it. Okay, but as far as the tension zone is concerned, that is really stable. That in turn, the tension zone will try to pull the compression zone back, because tension zone is that is any area of the I section below the neutral axis will be under tension. It will try to pull back, that is, it will try to stabilize the beam, but compression area will try to destabilize the beam. As a result of pull between compression and tension zone, so it takes a twist. That is called torsional buckling. There is going to be a torsional moment and the corresponding torsional moment. So combination of this lateral buckling because of sideways movement and also torsional buckling, we call it as lateral torsional buckling. Okay, they may ask you in theory what is explain lateral torsional buckling. Afterwards, we can go and study the design of beams with lateral support. That is, the compression zone is laterally supported. That means there is no provision for lateral torsional buckling. We study that thoroughly. Then come back to laterally unsupported beam. There you need to know only the theory, how to design. You need to know the formula. You don't have to remember the formula, but you need to know where exactly the formulas are located in the code book. And also you need to know the steps on how to design. So read that and find out where exactly it is located in the code book. When you get a question about the design steps for laterally supported beams, go ahead and write those formulas in a sequential fashion. Not from top to bottom, instead from bottom to top. That is only for bending. As far as deflection is concerned, whether it is laterally supported or laterally unsupported, it is the same deflection. Okay, in case of laterally unsupported beam, you don't have to worry about high shear or low shear. High shear, low shear, you need to care about only in case of laterally supported beams. Okay. And when it comes to design or check for web crippling and web buckling, it is the same for both laterally supported and laterally unsupported. Only the bending part, checking for bending part changes from laterally supported to laterally unsupported beams. Just you know the difference. So if you are asked a question in the examination on laterally unsupported beam, question in this and theoretical, not the problem, then you can write the procedure. Okay. Next comes this connections. So beam to beam connections and beam to column connections, we have discussed this, and we discussed this in the previous class. And column to column connection we discussed just now. Okay, so with this we are completing this module. Okay, if you get any doubt, you can always contact me from tomorrow onwards. So in one of the modules where we studied design of tension members, okay, that is module 4. Okay, there was another part left out, that was the design of column bases, which will be taken by Mr. Puneet from tomorrow. Okay, and as per the government order, I think there is going to be the college starting from next week, all degree colleges, and you can come to the college provided you have taken vaccination. Without taking vaccination of at least 1 dose, so you are not allowed inside the college. So when you come next week, when the college opens, so we go section wise. So my section is B section, and we can discuss, so what are the things left out, and we can discuss about your doubts, revision, and all those things. Okay, it is very important. If at all the college opens next week, as per the government order, you can come to the college with vaccination report. Okay, guys. So with that, I'm stopping the recording.